take the chance to see this really magnificent natural wonder that is located in the western part of the United States, it is certainly worth going there. It's worth spending some time there. It is worth to be able to take a hike there, spend a couple days to hike in and out, see some of the beauties of nature there, and to just spend some time to appreciate this wonderful world that God has created for us. Hi, this is Anita from the Dusty Roads podcast. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is a magnificent natural wonder that is located in the western United States. The story of the Grand Canyon is said to have begun over 2 billion years ago. So it really is a very, very old natural structure that took a long time to form. It took literally billions of years to form the Grand Canyon as we know it today. If we're going to fill the Grand Canyon with water, it would take literally quadrillion gallons of water to fill it. To put some perspective on that, it would probably take up over 300 years of constantly putting water into the Grand Canyon to try to fill it. It would take such a long time because it is just such a big area, so high, so deep. It would truly take a long time to fill it with water. All the water that was once in the Grand Canyon, because the Grand Canyon was once filled with water, exited out through what we now know as the Colorado River. And that's why the Colorado River continues to be a key river throughout the western part of the United States. Recently, the Colorado River has been on the news quite a bit because the two lakes which are on the river, kind of in between the Grand Canyon, Lake Mead and the Lake Powell, are extremely low. In fact, they are so low that we don't know whether these lakes will ever be able to recover as to what they once were. There's a question that some people have asked, and they've said, well, isn't the Grand Canyon a bit lower from sea level than the Dead Sea? No, absolutely not. The Dead Sea is quite a bit lower than the Grand Canyon is. In fact, the Dead Sea is the Earth's lowest point and body of water. But the Grand Canyon does have the Hoover Dam, which I mentioned before. And the Hoover Dam is located about 40 miles from Las Vegas. So you can visit the Hoover Dam if you're going to go to see the Grand Canyon. But the Grand Canyon is not man-made. It is a completely natural formation. It is one of the UNESCO's World Heritage Sites because it's considered such an important natural site. The Grand Canyon is 277 miles long. So that's about 1,904 square miles. It's a vast area that can take you like from just 5 hours to drive from the North Rim to the South Rim. Even though if the distance between the North and South Rim is actually 10 miles, but because of the way you have to drive around, it can take you up to 5 hours or 250 miles. Most of the area, does not have, hiking or other trails. A lot of the area actually is not very developed. There was a group of hikers that recently for the National Geographic, a couple of National Geographic's photographer, and they went and they decided that they were going to hike the distance of the Grand Canyon. It took them 70 days. And they said that 90% of what they hiked, there was absolutely no trail at all. So that's kind of how undeveloped the Grand Canyon is. Yes, there's certain trails that you could take. There's areas that you can go. But most of the Grand Canyon is not very highly developed. So the Grand Canyon is actually very, very large. If it was a state, it would be larger than the state of Rhode Island. And here is kind of an interesting one if you want to ask yourself about the Grand Canyon. When you think of the Grand Canyon to be wild, you think about, all the wild animals that are there. And yes, of course, there would be rattlesnakes because you are in the West. I'm sure you'll find some snakes there. There's, coyotes, foxes, bats, and even mountain lions. But the most dangerous animal and the one that the most people get hurt from the most is known to be the rock squirrel. And the reason is people see these cute little squirrels and they want to give them some food, and the squirrel turns on and bites their hand. It's fantastic to be able to hike the Grand Canyon. If you're going to go there, you should take some time and try to hike it. There are some places that you can actually camp there. There are other things that you could do. So you should take some time to be able to spend some time within the Grand Canyon itself and to appreciate the nature. If you really don't want to hike, you can take a mule ride. A lot of people want to know, are those mule rides safe? And yes, the mule rides are safe because those mules have been walking that trail much more than you have, so that they are able to understand every single part of that trail that there is. Sometimes, even if the mules might even look like they're walking to the outer edge of the Grand Canyon, the mules have this way of self-preservation. They will not do anything where it's going to cause you or them harm. So even if you think they're maybe going to the very edge of it, they will not. They will make sure that you are out of harm's way. There is an Indian reservation on the Grand Canyon, which I found is quite interesting. And this Indian reservation is 1,000 years old. It's Supai is the village is in Supai, Arizona. It's located on the rim of the Grand Canyon, but the village it's hidden away. You have to walk 8 miles. Anybody has to go 8 miles by horseback or by walking to get in and out of this village. That means that the U.S. Mail Service is bringing the mail into this village by mule. I find this so fascinating because, when you think of America and you think of the world today, we think of our world being so developed that we don't realize that there's still some areas where actually the postal workers are on the mules and they're bringing the mail in and out to an area by the mule cart. I guess it's fair to say that maybe Amazon does not deliver there. And if they does, they're maybe delivering by mail. The remoteness of the village, of course, can be some challenging, for some of the people who've lived there, but they have lived there for many, many years. If you want to go see the Grand Canyon, but you don't feel like you have the opportunity, or maybe you don't feel you're fit enough to be able to travel it, or maybe you just don't have the time, a really great option that we love, and if you've listened to any of my other podcasts, you may have heard me talk about this, is these virtual challenges. And we really love the Conqueror Virtual Challenge. I have personally been doing the one for the Grand Canyon. And it's been really so much fun because you can go onto Google Maps, you can see exactly where you are in the Grand Canyon, and it kind of gives you a little bit of feel for what the Grand Canyon looks like. So if you do not have the opportunity to visit the Grand Canyon yourself, or you don't have the time, or maybe you went to visit it, but you feel like you'd like to be able to see more of it, or do more with it, or learn more about the Grand Canyon itself, then you can very easily sign up for one of the Conqueror Virtual Challenges, and you can start taking their Grand Canyon Challenge. The total distance is 280 miles. So every time you walk, run, swim, bike, take a step, you can count it towards it. And eventually over time, you will finish the Grand Canyon. And in the process, you will get a medal. We will leave a link to our blog. And in that blog, you will be able to find a link to the Conqueror Virtual Challenge, and they will automatically give you 10% off on your challenge. So not only can you take the Grand Canyon Challenge, but you can also get 10% off. And one of the great parts about it all is when you finish, you will get a medal at the end. And I really love these medals. It makes me feel so good that I finished something, and you'll get a medal that will say the Grand Canyon on it. We love the Grand Canyon. There's so many great things about the Grand Canyon. It's such a marvelous part of the United States. And if you have the chance and opportunity to visit it, do take the chance to see this really magnificent natural wonder that is located in the western part of the United States. It is certainly worth going there. It's worth spending some time there. It is worth to be able to take a hike there, spend a couple days to hike in and out, see some of the beauties of nature there, and to just spend some time to appreciate this wonderful world that God has created for us. This is Anita from Dusty Roads Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate you. Thank you to our production crew, to Rico for putting together these podcasts, and take some time and subscribe and join us and become part of our community. We'd love to have you join with us. Thank you so much for listening.